At my daughter's 11th birthday, my mom gave her a deodorant with a note. Use it to make friends. Everyone laughed, including her classmates. My daughter was holding back tears. The next day, they regretted everything. It started like one of those picture-perfect mornings you see in detergent commercials. Sunlight spilling through clean windows, balloons taped to walls, a cake that looked almost professional, almost, and my daughter Zoe pacing in front of the mirror, reciting imaginary conversations with her crush. I was the narrator of chaos, armed with a spatula and misplaced optimism. "You look beautiful," I told her, for the 5th time. She frowned at her reflection. "You think Jamie's going to notice my hair?" "I think if he doesn't, we'll pretend he's legally blind." That earned half a smile. Progress. The thing about being 11 is that everything is either the best day of your life or the end of the world. Zoe had already had enough end-of-the-world days for 1 year, small humiliations that cling to a kid like static. The smell jokes at school, the whispers, the giggles when she walked past. She showered twice a day now, applied perfume like it was armor. Today was her redemption arc. The guest list had been strategic. Her classmates, a few of their parents, and unfortunately, my family. Because appearances, because guilt. Because I was still the daughter who over-explained everything to people who never listened. By noon, the house smelled like sugar and nerves. Zoe stood by the window, fingers twisting the hem of her dress as cars pulled up. First came the friends, bright voices, sneakers, gift bags. Then the doorbell rang again, and the atmosphere shifted. "Mom's here!" my sister Chelsea called from the porch, her voice sing-song and smug. Of course she was early. Chelsea swept in wearing heels that clicked like punctuation marks, kids in tow, Paige, 12 and already a carbon copy of her mother, and Lucas, 9 and wild-eyed. "You look so festive," Chelsea said, scanning the streamers. "It's cute." Cute. The word people use when they mean amateur. "Thanks," I said. My mom followed, purse slung over one arm, smile stretched thin. "Well, look at our birthday girl." Zoe straightened automatically. "Hi, Grandma." 11 already," Mom said, kissing the air near her cheek. "You're growing up so fast." "We'll have to keep an eye on the boys." She laughed like she'd invented humor. Jamie arrived 10 minutes later. Zoe froze, panicked, then whispered, "Oh my God, he's here," like it was a warning siren. She greeted him, cheeks pink, voice wobbly. I watched from the kitchen, heart split between pride and the urge to build a moat around her. For a while, it went well. Music, cake, laughter. I started to believe we might make it through the day intact. Then came the gifts. Paige went first, lip gloss set. Lucas gave a comic book. Safe. Harmless. Chelsea handed over a sparkly phone case for when you finally get a real phone, which was both generous and pointed. And then my mother stepped forward, clutching a small, neatly wrapped box. "This one's from Grandma," she said brightly. "Something practical." That word, practical. It sent a quiet chill through me. Zoe tore off the paper. The room leaned in. Inside was a stick of deodorant. Vanilla scent. Cheap brand. Taped to the side, a note in my mother's familiar handwriting. "Use it to make friends." For one perfect, paralyzed second, no one breathed. Then laughter rippled through the room. First the adults, then Paige, then Lucas, then the kids, even the ones who'd been kind before. The noise spread like wildfire. Jamie laughed too. That one hurt. Zoe didn't move. Her hands tightened around the box. Her face went blank, the way a screen does before it shuts off. "Mom," I said sharply. "What?" My mother blinked, feigning innocence. "It's a joke!" Everyone's laughing. Exactly. Everyone was laughing. Zoe's lip trembled. She tried to smile, failed, and whispered, "Excuse me," before bolting down the hallway. The laughter stuttered to a stop. Chelsea leaned back in her chair, half smirking. "Oh, come on, Jenna." "She's sensitive, isn't she? You were like that too." Paige giggled, whispering something to a friend. I stood there, plate in hand, every muscle tight. "She's 11. "It was harmless," Mom said. "A little humor never hurt anyone." "Right," I said. "That's why you've got decades of happy memories with me." She frowned. "Don't start." Too late. I'd already started. But Zoe's door slammed upstairs, and the sound swallowed my fury. I set the plate down, hands shaking, and said quietly, "I'll go check on her." "Jenna," Chelsea sighed, "you really should learn to take a joke." I looked at her, then at the half-eaten cake, the glitter decorations, the kids exchanging whispers, and thought, I've been taking jokes my whole life. Upstairs, Zoe sat on her bed, knees pulled to her chest, the wrapping paper crumpled beside her. "She did it on purpose," she said, voice raw. "She knew." "I know," I said, sitting beside her. "They're never going to forget. Everyone's going to talk about it at school." Jamie laughed. That last word broke. I didn't have a speech ready. All I could do was wrap my arms around her and whisper, "I'm so sorry." Downstairs, laughter started again, fainter, like ghosts who didn't know they were dead. I pressed my hand against Zoe's back, feeling every tremor. It wasn't the first time my mother had ruined a birthday, but it was the last. Zoe lifted her head, eyes wet. "She hates me." "No," I said. "She doesn't care enough to hate." "But I do." Her breath hitched. "What are you going to do?" I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. "Fix it. Because that's what mothers do. When the world breaks their children, they build something stronger from the pieces." Downstairs, my family laughed at another joke I couldn't hear. And I thought, laugh while you can. The next day, they regretted everything. It wasn't the first birthday they'd ruined with a joke. Zoe didn't sleep that night. Neither did I. Every time the floor creaked, I heard the party again. Laughter, my mother's voice, the sound of Zoe's chair scraping back. Funny how memory keeps the sound fresh. Chelsea used to say I was born embarrassed. She wasn't wrong. She was the older one. Blonde, confident, the kind of girl who could insult you and make you thank her for the attention. I was bookish, cautious, allergic to eye contact. At school, she had orbiters. I had library fines. At home, she had applause. I had advice. "Loosen up," Mom would say when Chelsea mimicked the way I walked. "She's teasing," Dad added, like that made it wholesome. Laughter always followed, filling the kitchen, bouncing off the refrigerator until it stuck to me. There was a birthday, mine, 15 maybe, where Chelsea convinced her friends to hide my gifts. When I started to panic, she held up one box with a ribbon and said, "Here's one." "Hope it fits your personality." Inside was a joke. T-shirt, "World's most sensitive person." Mom laughed so hard she cried. That sound never leaves you. I used to think adulthood would fix everything, that once we all had taxes and back pain, the cruelty would stop. It doesn't. It just gets manners. Chelsea became the success story. Marketing job, perfect hair, a social calendar that looked exhausting. I went into software. Quiet work, clean numbers, no audience. My now husband Daniel did the same. We built a life that ran on code and caffeine, steady, uneventful, safe. When my parents' car needed tires, I paid. When their roof leaked, I sent the transfer before they asked. They called me a good daughter, which in our family is code for the reliable one, not the favorite. Chelsea never had to be reliable. She had charisma, and charisma doesn't pay bills. It collects them. A few months before Zoe's birthday, we'd gone to Paige's, 12 years old and already fluent in superiority. The party looked like a commercial, matching decor, catering, a professional photographer catching every perfect angle. Mom gave Paige a designer purse. Chelsea had obviously picked it out. Everyone clapped like it was a coronation. I remember Zoe whispering, "Do you think Grandma will get me something like that?" I said, "Maybe." I lied. Back in Zoe's room, hours after the party, she sat at her desk tracing circles on the wrapping paper. I could see she was replaying every laugh. That night, I thought about that purse and the deodorant sitting in the trash downstairs. 2 gifts, 2 messages. One said, "You're special." The other said, "You smell." People pretend intention is invisible, but you can always smell it. Daniel found me later, sitting in the hallway, lights off. "She's still awake," he said softly. "I know." He waited. "You okay?" I almost laughed. "That depends on which decade you mean." He rubbed his neck. "You can't control what they do." "Maybe not," I said. "But I can stop pretending it's harmless. You know that point where anger turns into clarity? It's sharp, almost clean. That's where I woke up. I didn't drink my coffee. I armed myself with it. The laptop was already open on the kitchen counter, the cursor blinking like it had been waiting years for this moment. Click 1. Transfer canceled. Click 2. Card account closed. Click 3. Utilities. Gone. The house stayed silent except for the tapping of keys and the sound of my pulse in my ears. I wasn't shaky. I was steady. That's what scared me a little. Daniel wandered in halfway through, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Morning. You're up early." "I'm busy," I said. He blinked at the screen. "Busy doing what?" "Freedom paperwork." "You mean exactly what it looks like." He leaned against the doorframe, hair sticking up, trying to figure out whether to stop me. "You're really doing this?" "I already did." "They'll freak out." "Good. Do you want me to call your mom later?" "Smooth things," I laughed, loud, fast, almost ugly. "Smooth things over?" That's her job. She's been polishing her image for decades. That shut him up. When I finished, I sat back. The air felt different, lighter, like something toxic had finally burned out. By lunchtime, the phone started buzzing. I ignored the first few, let the notifications stack. The vibrations sounded like applause. At 2, I picked up Zoe from school. She looked tired but not broken, the way soldiers look in movies after surviving the explosion. "How was it?" I asked. "Fine." That word meant awful, but I didn't die. I reached into the back seat and handed her a small shopping bag. Inside, a soft green sweater and a voucher for a haircut. "What's this?" "Something to start over with." She smiled without showing teeth. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to." That night, she tried on the sweater and spun once in front of the mirror. The smile stayed this time. Small, but real. At 9:03 p.m., my phone rang. Mom, glowing on the screen. I answered because I wanted to hear the performance. "Jenna," she said sweetly, "we didn't get your transfer this month." You must have forgotten I didn't. A pause. I could hear the air tighten on her end. "You stopped sending it?" "Correct." "Your father and I rely on that money. We've always relied on you. Maybe you should rely on yourselves." Her voice dropped an octave. "This is because of that silly party thing, isn't it?" "That silly party thing was your granddaughter's birthday." "Oh, please." She needs to toughen up. "Or maybe you need to stop throwing punches and calling it love." She sighed dramatically. "You've always been ungrateful. And you've always been cruel. You'll regret this." "I already did," I said, and hung up. 5 minutes later, The phone rang again. Chelsea. Of course. Wow, she said, skipping hello. You really went nuclear. I went necessary. Mom's crying. She should try therapy. It's quieter. You can't cut people off because of a misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a public execution. Oh my God, Jenna, it was a joke. Paige thought it was hilarious. Paige also thinks TikTok pranks are a personality. Do you have to be so dramatic? Do you have to be so predictable? You're destroying this family. No, I said. I'm saving mine. I hung up before she could come up with something clever. By midnight, the relatives had formed a tag team. Aunt Lisa texted, "Your poor mother is heartbroken." Uncle Ron called to say, "Family doesn't turn its back like this." A cousin I hadn't seen in 5 years left a voicemail that started with, "We're all worried about you," and ended with, "Grow up." I replied to none of them. Silence is heavier than words when you've spent a lifetime being told to shut up. But I did pour another glass of wine and toast the quiet. Saturday morning. Another call. Same number. This time I answered, just to end the suspense. It was Mom again, but her sweetness had curdled. "You think cutting us off makes you better? Wait until Zoe grows up and hates you for it." I smiled into the receiver. If she hates me for protecting her, I can live with that. She started to yell, but I hung up halfway through ungrateful. The phone buzzed 3 more times. I turned it face down and said out loud, to no one, "That's enough." Later that day, Zoe and I went out for Christmas decorations. The store was crowded, glitter everywhere, the kind of chaos that smells like cinnamon and regret. She picked white lights. I picked red. We argued. We bought both. At the register, she hesitated. Grandma usually helps with this part. Not this year. Because of me? Because of them. Her shoulders dropped. Relief? Understanding. Good, she said. I swear, that one word felt better than any therapy session I'd ever skipped. That night, Daniel found me on the porch again. I was drinking cheap wine and pretending it was Victory champagne. "You okay?" he asked. "I think so." "They'll be furious." "Let them be." He smiled. "You really mean it?" "I do." He nodded toward my phone on the table. "Are you going to keep it off forever?" "Maybe," I said. "Maybe I'll answer next time. Just to hang up twice." He laughed, but I wasn't joking. A few days later, Zoe came home with that mix of excitement and fear only middle school can invent. "Mom," she said, breathless. "Someone posted a clip from my birthday." I froze. "What clip?" "The deodorant thing." She bit her lip. "You can see Grandma handing it to me and everyone laughing." My stomach turned. "Do you want me to take it down?" She shook her head. "No, it's not mean this time." People are mad at them. The comments are all like, "Who does that to a kid?" I watched the video. 30 seconds of cruelty, broadcast like evidence. The laughter sounded smaller on screen. The note, when it came into focus, "Use it to make friends," looked ridiculous, petty. "Do you want me to report it?" I asked again. Zoe thought for a long moment. "No, let people see what it really was." Her voice was steady. No shame, no tremor. Just a kid taking her story back. I reached for her hand. "Okay, we'll let it stay that night," she hummed while helping me untangle the lights for the tree. The house felt warm again, alive. I sat down and realized that for the first time in forever, no one was laughing at us. Only for us. A few quiet weeks. That's all the peace we managed before the next storm. I was starting to think the silence might mean they'd finally given up. No calls, no emails, no guilt trips. Even Zoe seemed lighter, still wary, but laughing again. The house had started to sound like a home instead of an autopsy room. Then Thursday happened. I was pulling into the school parking lot when I saw them. 3 familiar figures by the front gate. Mom, Chelsea, and my father, pretending to check his watch while standing sentry. Zoe was in the middle of them, her backpack half slipped off one shoulder, her face white. They were talking fast, smiling too wide. That smile my family uses when they're saying something awful but want to look like saints. By the time I slammed the car door, I could already hear pieces of it. "Sweetheart, you know we didn't mean anything bad. You love your grandma, don't you? If you'd just laughed, none of this would have happened." Every sentence was another hook thrown into her, and she was sinking. I walked faster. Mom spotted me first and did that fake surprise thing. "Oh, Jenna!" We were just saying hello. "Get away from her." "Don't be ridiculous," Chelsea said. "We're trying to fix what you broke." Zoe's eyes filled. She looked from them to me like a deer surrounded by traffic. "Zoe," Mom said, soft now, twisting the knife. "You could make this all go away. Just tell your mother you want to see us again." That's when I stopped pretending to be civilized. Back. Away. From. My daughter. The words came out calm, clipped, surgical. Every parent at the gate turned to stare. Mom's smile froze. "We're just talking." "No," I said. "You're rewriting history." I took Zoe's hand and walked her to the car. Nobody said another word. The air felt electric, the kind of silence right before thunder hits. In the car, Zoe kept wiping at her face. "They said I ruined everything," she whispered. "That if I'd just laughed, you wouldn't hate them." I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles clicked. "They want you to feel guilty so they don't have to." She stared out the window. "Maybe I did make it worse." "No," I said. "You told the truth with your face." "That's what scares them." She didn't answer. When we got home, she went straight to her room. Daniel met me in the hallway. "What happened?" "They were waiting for her after school." He went pale. "You're kidding." "Do I look like I'm kidding?" He hesitated. "Maybe I should call your mom. Try to—" I laughed, sharp and humorless. "Try to what?" "Negotiate terms of sanity?" That night, I poured a glass of wine, sat at my desk, and called Kevin Chu, a lawyer and a friend. Kevin answered on the second ring. "Jenna." "Long time no crisis." "They cornered my kid at school." A pause. "Cornered?" "3 of them. Told her she wrecked the family, made her cry in front of everyone. I want it in writing that they stay the hell away." He didn't even sigh this time. "I'll draft the letter tonight. Cease and desist, plus a copy for the school administration. You sure you want to go nuclear?" "They already did," I said. He chuckled softly. "Fair. I'll send it for your approval before morning." When I hung up, I felt that strange mix of fury and relief, like holding a live wire and realizing it's finally grounded. Near midnight, I found Zoe awake, sitting cross-legged on her bed. She looked up. "Mom, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm the reason this got so big." I sat beside her. "Listen to me. They hurt you, and when people like that get caught, they always look for someone smaller to blame. That doesn't make it your fault. It just makes them cowards." Her chin trembled. "But they're family. Blood isn't a hall pass," I said. She laughed once, watery. "You sound like a movie quote." "Then maybe movies get some things right." We stayed like that until her breathing steadied. By morning, the letter was in my inbox. Formal, cold, perfect. Reading it felt like exhaling for the first time in years. Kevin had added a line I hadn't asked for. "Any future contact will be considered harassment." Bless that man. I forwarded it to the principal and then, for good measure, to Mom's email with the subject line, "Boundaries. No message body. just the attachment. Hit send. A few weeks later, December crept in. The house filled with pine and sugar and the sound of Zoe singing again. She'd started inviting friends over, real friends, not the kind who laughed because someone told them to. I caught her one night helping a classmate decorate the tree. She was talking, smiling easily, the way light falls on someone who's stopped bracing for impact. Then my phone buzzed on the counter. "Mom," flashing across the screen. I let it ring once, twice. Then I pressed block. Christmas came and it was quiet. No fake laughter, no tension heavy enough to slice. Just friends, lights, real smiles. For the first time in forever, the house felt like it actually belonged to us. A few relatives still try calling. "Family doesn't cut off family," one text said. I left it on read. Peace is louder when you don't answer. Word gets around, though. Apparently my parents are having a hard time. The roof's leaking again, the car needs repairs, and my sister, who posts photos from five-star brunches, hasn't offered a dime. Mom's been telling everyone it's so unfair that I stopped helping. I call that karma with a warranty. And Paige? She found herself a new target at school. It didn't go well. The principal called it behavioral bullying. She's been quieter lately. Consequences do that to people. Zoe and I had a perfect day. Small, messy, full of real laughter. The kind that doesn't sting. We're careful now about who we let in. Turns out, less family can sometimes mean more peace. Sometimes I think about calling them. Then I remember the silence that followed when I finally hung up. How light the air felt. How clean. So, was I right to cut them off or did I go too far? Let me know in the comments. And subscribe for more.